I'm going to debunk why it is that certain men are only attracted to younger women. Now, there is this myth that is speculated about in, particularly when it comes to partner selection, that men go for younger women because women are more fertile and healthier when they are younger, and therefore this is why the natural causation and selection for partner selection for men is that they'll go for younger women. And this is a complete myth. Women's health is not tied to age. You can be the age of 20 and given choices about certain behaviors or things that you indulge yourself in at that age can put your body in an active state of being very unhealthy. Whereas if that were true and it was to do with when women are most fertile, you've got to remember is that women are still producing eggs and still having monthly cycles until for most women it's between 50 and 55. So they're still fertile up until that age. So it's got nothing to do with age. And childbirth in and of itself actually prolongs a woman's life. So the strength in her body actually increases to the degree that women actually live longer because of the process of childbirth in and of itself. So partner selection when it comes to men and men that have this fixation on younger women has got nothing to do with the vitality and the health of younger women, but actually to do with the psychology and the issue with the psychology in the male. Now, the truth of it is that men that are drawn to younger women exclusively, i.e. they will consistently go towards women that are younger, they will enter into a cycle of only entertaining women that are younger, are preferencing women that are younger because they are more emotionally vulnerable. Because they're more emotionally vulnerable, they are easier to manipulate, they are easier to persuade and coerce into acting in a way that is not going to challenge the male's behavior. And what that means is that he will always feel as if he has control in the relationship because the woman is not going to be in a position where she's had enough life experience to be able to challenge him on his behaviors. There is part of him unconsciously that is seeking younger women because he doesn't want to grow up. When you are around somebody that is obviously a lot younger than you, they are at a different stage of their life. And this is why from a compatibility perspective, when you have massive age gaps of people, you are crossing generational lines where a lot of experiences are not relatable. And compatibility comes from relatability as well, being able to understand the other. And so in some cases, it is men that are still chasing the youth, i.e. they are still in a position where they don't want to take accountability, they don't want to take responsibility for their lives or how they show up emotionally. And so they are chasing women that essentially mirror that back to them so that they don't physically have to put themselves in a position to actually grow up. Now, some men will seek it as a way of gaining or feeling as if they have an internalized sense of power. If they can secure younger women, then therefore they have something to lord over with their friends or, with their peers or whatever it is, some level of triumph. So it's always an ego-led pursuit, but essentially men that seek power play in this way have had experiences and have got stored trauma in the body to do with feeling completely powerless, and so they will seek external means in order to affirm to them that they do have power, and often that comes under the guise of women that are easily manipulatable and easily coerced. Which again essentially means that there is unresolved wounding, and once you tend to that wounding, obviously preferences then start to change because they're no longer governing their life under the guise of needing to prove worthiness and value through external pursuits.
I totally disagree with you. Men by nature are very visual. In fact, it's the visual appearance of a woman that get men stimulated. Younger women have tighter skin, firmer and less wrinkles, and their bodies in most cases are in a lot better shape. If most women are honest, if they get older and you ask them if they think they look better now or when they were a lot younger, they would say it is when they were a lot younger. Since men are very visual beings by nature, that doesn't change just because they got older. The nature of a being doesn't change because they got older, but because it's part of who they are. Older men are naturally attracted to younger women and not women of their age, and it has absolutely nothing to do with them thinking that they can manipulate them easier because they are younger. The hardwire for attraction is reproduction, even if we live our conscious and social lives not thinking about it in that way. Attraction isn't something negotiated from the frontal cortex, but it's much more immediate, subconscious, and primal. Men want innocent and pure women who will imprint on them more strongly. The more partners a woman has, the less likely she will be loyal to a man, and the more likely a relationship will fail. Older women are desperate to have kids and might likely pair up with men that are not good fits. Older men can be a catch because it takes a long while to mature and become financially successful, what women want. Women that wait until older age to settle down have wasted their most precious fertile and attractive years, what men want, and have not been selected for reasons that will probably become apparent to any man risking a relationship. Younger women are more attractive to men physically, and it is true for men too. It's not rocket science. Older women are full of baggages.
Younger women has less trauma than older women, and that's why men want to date younger women. That is a fucking complete lie. That's a lie. I mean, like, they have less relationship experience, so they're gonna tolerate more because you're gonna now put them through that trauma that older lady has. Oh, and you gotta think, if a younger girl has been touched by her older uncle, daddy, grandpa, cousin, brother, guess what she has? Trauma. She has the same trauma, if not more, than the older woman. Then he said they're more beautiful. Body-wise. I don't think you've seen the young women nowadays. They look just as old as the old. Like, them 40-year-olds is looking very much mid-late 20s. They are very much mid-late 20s now. Yeah, they not looking as old as grandma them did when they was 50 and they was 40. Them 40-year-olds ain't looking like that. You could probably put a 40-year-old and a 25-year-old beside each other, and if that 40-year-old took care of herself, you will probably know that she was 40 because she's gonna, like you said, have a stronger conversation than the woman that's in her like early 20s or, whatever.
You just made his point. Younger women have less trauma, less kids, look better, and are in better shapes. It is always the older women that are always getting angry about men preferring younger women. You can't see younger women complaining about this. Younger women have less sex partners, and that means they have less demons a man has to wrestle with her about, and body count also matters a lot. Fellas, don't let these women fool you. The truth is all women hit the wall after 25 years. Men need to go back to the good old days where older men dated younger women unapologetically. Older men should date younger women because older women of today are tainted and have a lot of baggage and baby mama drama. No matter how much they try, they can't make an argument that makes older women sound better than younger women. These women saying that men are the ones that traumatize the older women, that is not true. Over the years, men have been intentional and ready to get on with women, but have been told to leave them alone, and men have always obliged. When these women waste their youths with Tyrones and Chads after leaving good men in the friend zone for decades, they will now come back and will now want a man to settle down with after reaching the age of 40, and then they will start blaming men for their trauma instead of them to take accountability for their actions. No, it doesn't work that way. Real men can't settle for less. They want younger women because they are the future with less troubles. Men should never listen to a woman that tells them what a man thinks.
I was on live last night, and we were all having a conversation about older men dating younger women and why that could be and why that could be a problem. I tell everybody my age limit for my age right now is 28. I'm 23. That's 5 years. I don't want a much older man because the experience difference. For one, why I don't think it's cute that an older man wants me. That is very bigged up nowadays. We're like, ooh, a lot of girls eat that up. And I tell any young girl around me, that's not cute. It's not cute that an older man wants you, because it's not. They want you because you're impressionable. You don't have the experience that they have. I think experience is my biggest issue with it. You're 35, I'm 23. You have a lot more experience over me. So why do you want to come down to where I am? Not necessarily that it's just coming down, but it's just like you have way more wisdom than I do. Why don't you want somebody on your level, if that makes sense? Like, I'm very mature for my age, but that don't mean I want to go date a man that's 10 years older than me right now. Maybe 35 and 45 is not that bad, cool. But 40 and 20 and 30 and 21, stuff like that, that's just too big of an age difference for me. I feel like I'm very mature, but that don't mean that it's I'm mature enough or experienced enough to date a man who's already owned or rented multiple houses at a time or has had multiple cars throughout his lifetime. I'm still learning myself. So I want somebody I can learn with, not somebody who can tell me things that they already know, which I have a dad for. I have an older man in my life. I have a dad for that. So I don't want another older man in my life, in my ear, trying to put his experiences on me, which is not a bad thing. You could be my mentor. If you 40 something, you could be my mentor, but anything past that, I don't think it's cute that I'm desired by an older man. They want to, I feel like they want impressionable women that they can kind of control. Like I said, some older men, it might not be the case for them. But let's be realistic. Why aren't you dating a woman, if you're 40, why aren't you dating a woman that's 38, 40, 42, 45? Why don't you want somebody in that caliber? What's wrong with them? And the biological clock stuff, listen, if you are 40 and you want a girl in her 20s because you want kids, if you feel like the time is running out for women your age, oh my gosh, well, you should have had your baby when you were 20 something, 30 something. But I'm sure instead you were too busy wasting women your age's biological clock time. You were wasting their time in those years. So that's why now you want to date down and give a 20-year-old a baby by a 40-year-old man. And now when you're 60, your kid is going to be 20. And they're not going to have much life left to live with you. It's not a good thing to me, in my personal opinion. It's just not. Like I said, you could be my mentor. You could be my mentor. But if you're desiring me, you want to be with me, and I'm in my 20s, what is there to relate to? The experience is not there. We can't have many shared experiences, and that's what I would want with my partner. I want shared experiences.
Why is it okay for an older woman to date a young man, but if an old man dates a young woman, it will then become the biggest problem in the world? What experience are you referring to? Because some of those experiences you are speaking on is the problem. Older men have been dating younger women throughout human history solely because of power and resource imbalances. Kings, lords, merchants, and generals tend to be older and have access to women. Women flock to those men to be in proximity to their resources and protection because they hold power. Most older men date younger women because they are now stable enough and usually don't want to deal with the mental maturity and responsibilities older women typically come with, which are kids or bills. They just want to have fun and not responsibilities, and unfortunately, these young girls are just on point with it than older women. There is a common misconception that being older means more experienced, more matured, etc. Most men in their 20s have dated women in their 40s, and at their 40s, they have dated women in their 20s, and those who have dated in the age spectrum. Age oftentimes isn't as of a big deal as people make it, because even the older ones are not even matured or experienced. Older men of value date younger women these days, and they love it, and this makes older women jealous. The older women have way too many bodies, trauma, baggage, kids, debt, etc. to be taken seriously, and they are way past their prime and can't even give a man what he wants.
So a guy said something to me that absolutely blew my mind one time. He said that the reason men go for the younger woman is not because they're just simply younger. It's for the simple fact that they don't require a lot. They're not really expecting a lot. They get excited for the most simple, basic things, like a man opening the door for you, which should be something they do anyway. These are things that girls just get extremely excited about, like, oh, he opened my car door, oh my gosh, he got me flowers. That's bare minimum. That's something a man should be doing. There are some things that women should be doing as well that are bare minimum, but that's a whole other conversation. What this guy said to me, and it made so much sense to me. He's like, it's easier to please a woman that is younger because she doesn't require or expect much. It's like the bare minimum is like the most amazing thing she's ever felt. And that's so sad, because obviously as women get older, especially if you have kids, like, you want stability, you want security, you want not just bare minimum effort, you want more. When I say that women want like a provider man, it's really not so much about like the money, the leading, the initiative, the stability, the security. It's a lot more. I feel like in essence is what a provider means. It's just crazy to me to hear like from a grown-ass man, and this guy was like over his 30s. He's like, the reason men go for younger women is because they don't acquire much. They don't know what they want with their lives. They're just basically okay with pretty much nothing.
The younger ones appreciate the smallest and greatest efforts men put. They also have lower expectations, but the old ones think they are entitled just because they have experience. Once women hit 30 plus, it is just not worth dating them anymore because of so much mileage, baggage, and they became so unappreciative of men. Younger women are also less bitter as compared to older women. I will just be honest in every sense of the word. Nothing is better than a new thing. It's like buying a new car. If all you have to do is pump gas, why not? Why would you buy a car that needs new tires, a new battery, car shakes, won't turn on in the winter, etc., and the paint job is all rusted? Why would you choose an old used car over a new one? It's not rocket science, rather it is the reality. After the age of 30, women have blown engines and a blown-out muffler. No one wants to salvage title vehicle, and you know too well how rental cars are treated. Generally, it doesn't matter at what age because most of these women still don't appreciate anything. What's a top-tier man anyways? Or even bare minimum for a woman? Older women want a provider and someone who will protect them and another man's kids. Younger women are just more grateful for the small gestures. Older women are stuck in their ways. They are not worth the time.
Something I don't understand, and I'm sure I'm going to hate the answer, but I don't get it, so I am curious. Why do men consistently want and date younger women? Like, no matter how much older a man gets, his preferences tend to stay in their early 20s? And that's always been a thing. When men have access to, they date younger women. Why? Why don't you want to be with someone your own age?
It's almost like every generation of women have to rediscover this question and have to go through this the 9 stages of grief or whatever amount of stages it is, but they always seem to be fine with it when they're in their 19, 20, 21, 22, and they are dating older. But then as they approach 30 and 35, then they start having an epiphany of like, why are you guys like this? Why do you guys want to do this? And it's never going to change simply because you're asking the question. And you've heard this before. I'm not telling you anything new, but men like younger women for a variety of reasons. You're in your best physical shape. You're at your peak of your beauty in your 20s. That's probably the number one reason. The second reason, you have a longer runway of fertility before you hit 35, which is geriatric pregnancy is 35. And another thing is men don't value experience in a woman. So you saying I'm older and I've learned more, that's not something we value whatsoever. The other thing is it's less baggage because you're younger. A 23-year-old has 10 years less relationship experience or exposure than a 33-year-old. So that means she's likely to have less trauma, less baggage, bring in less sort of overly opinionated thoughts because she's been hurt or traumatized. So there's an array of reasons why men prefer younger women. And I think you know this, though. You just see it as a way to shame men, but men will never feel shame for liking women at the peak of their beauty and at the peak of their fertility. That's not something you can ever shame men about.
Why can't women date men in their own income bracket? These women only ask this question when they become the older. Younger women are at their peak attractiveness, fertility, and haven't been ran through like the older women. Why do women like men of higher income at all ages? Younger women have less damage, less troubles, less attitude, less baggage, healthier, less trauma, etc. as compared to older women. Men are more visual. For the most part, with some exceptions, women in their 20s look better than older women. They just do, and just like younger men look better than older men. Now, most older men will still date women around their own age, but if they aren't at the same age. The same reason when women have access to date wealthier men. Women seek provisions and men seek fertility. Young women are fertile and older men have the provisions. It is the basic human nature at its finest play. Men are hardwired to reproduce, and most of everything they do revolves around that. It is not that deep. However, some people are capable of overriding that, and those are the smartest and rarest among us. The simple truth is that men value youth. Nobody chooses an old car if they can get a newer one. Women are most valuable when they are young and beautiful.
Let's talk about the real reason a lot of men seek out young women. Spoiler alert, it's because you're easy to manipulate. Now, men will come on here and try to convince you that the reason us older gals say this is because we're bitter and washed up and jealous. A, baby, it never gave that. 2, I would say half the women my age never dated older guys when we were younger because we were heavily controlled by our parents, which in one way protected us from these older men. But see, a lot of women who did date these older men when they were younger had a terrible experience, and what they're trying to do is share their experience to stop you making the same mistakes. So please, if you're a younger woman, I would ask you to listen to this message with an open heart, because we have nothing to gain by telling you this apart from you telling us that we're old and washed up. So the first thing you need to understand about men in general is that men and women have two different agendas. So men's agenda is to have sex, and women's agenda is to be in long-term relationships or marriages. So even on an age-to-age basis, men are usually employing some kind of trickery or bending of the truth to get what they want from a woman, which is sex. The reality is a lot of women have been tricked out of their box because they think that the man is going to take the box and then give them the relationship. And what happens is the man takes the box and we all know what happens next. Not much. Now imagine that scenario with a 5, 10, 15-year age gap. Because in most circumstances, when you have that much age on someone, you have more life experience. You have more resources. You have more money. You have more dating experience. So you can present something to someone that if it's their first time hearing it, they can be very open and very trusting to believing. And let me run through some of the excuses that men will use and let me call bullshit on them. So the first thing they will say is they're innocent, which means you're easier to manipulate because you don't know what's going on. Or it means that you haven't been sampled by the world and they want to be the first one to sample you. Men will talk about how they don't want a woman that's been, out there, that's been slept with by a lot of men, and that's why they want younger women. So, factual history shows that women are becoming more promiscuous by the generation. Now, no hate, no shade to the promiscuous women out there. I'm just trying to make a point. So, as a man, if you're looking for a woman that has less bodies, you're probably more likely to find that in a 30, 35, 40-year-old woman than a 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old woman. Or at least they will at max be at similar numbers because the older generation are coming from a time where it was much more heavily judged to be promiscuous than it is now. It is the city girl era right now. All the songs, we had Lil' Kim and Foxy Brown and everyone lost their mind. Right now, everybody is a city girl. The culture is city girl. The culture is whatever men can do, we can do better and better. These young ladies out here, the ones that are promiscuous, are capital P promiscuous. Again, no shade. I surely don't give a damn. I'm just trying to explain the point. Men will say, these older women have kids, they want someone fresh. Half of you guys are baby fathers, so you also have kids and you're the reason they have kids. But also, you have clearly displayed that you didn't marry these women. You didn't stick with your family. So what is it that you want to do? Plant seeds and then leave? Because I really hate when men spin this narrative of everything they want from these younger girls. Younger girls are cleaner. Young girls have a lower body count. Younger girls are more open to listening. Okay, and then you're going to get all that and then treat them like dirt anyway. Waste their time anyway. Ruin their innocence anyway. Younger girls, I am not saying this because I'm hating on you or because I'm jealous. I'm saying this because I've seen this. This is a tale as old as time. Shout out Beauty and the Beast. Men want you to be innocent so they can take it. A lot of men derive a lot of pleasure from taking a younger girl's virginity or being her first experience with a man. They have a very weird fetish with that. And then when you point this out, they actually lose their minds. Like, I have done a similar video to this before, and the men in the comments are literally deranged. Men like to deal with younger girls because when they're running game on them, because you're so young, you are not familiar with the game. You haven't heard this type of game before. You can't run the same game that you run on an 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old, most times on a 30, 31, 32-year-old, because the older ladies know better. Also, younger women have lower expectations. So if you get with a 23-year-old, she is probably more likely to let you coast for longer before starting to talk about marriage and seriousness and mortgage. Whereas older women who have lived life, when they meet someone, they're ready to start life, they're ready to be grounded, they're ready to set roots, they're looking at serious things. So men have come to understand quite quickly that youth buys them time. And men are always, some men are running from responsibility. So where's the easiest place to run if you're running from responsibility? Into the arms of someone who is young and in the phase of their life where they're just having fun and enjoyment and excitement. But then again, the other side of the coin that men will not tell you, when they meet you in your youth and you're doing youthish things, they start to put pressure on you, like telling you things are childish, not wanting you to go out with your friends, not wanting you to party, not wanting you to enjoy yourself, because he's headed for retirement and you're just blooming. But he tries to hold you back because he's not doing those things. He's done them. Men will have the cheek to tell women not to do things that they've been doing for decades. Like, please let this young woman enjoy herself, granddad. The sad thing we need to understand, and I'm being so honest, is that a lot of men are creeps. A lot of men will use the justification of, she's legal, to do inappropriate things with women who are of an inappropriate age difference. I saw someone said if they lowered the age of consent to 15, you would see a lot of grown men walking around with 15-year-olds, and I could not agree more. The reality is, when they say they want you for your innocence, what they mean is they want you for your naivety, for your lack of knowledge and experience. So as someone who is old and knowledgeable and experienced, I am telling you, stop dating these older men. The little bit of cash they are going to drop on you is not worth it, because their knowledge and their ability to manipulate is light years beyond you. Now, I don't usually get irritated on this app because, as far as I'm concerned, it's a bunch of strangers that I've never seen, nor am I ever going to see a day in my life. But it actually pisses me off when I go in the comments and there are women, older women, talking about, you're just jealous, you're just bitter. Sis, you need help, because you have seen with your own eyes, if you're an older woman or experience, older men using and manipulating young women, and you are going to open your mouth and say that because your cousin is with her man who's 10 years older than them. There's always an exception to the rule. But let's not act like this is not a real issue and this is not something that younger girls need to look out for. I find it very disgusting when women make excuses for men's bad behavior. And no, this is not every man, but it's enough men that we need to, as women who have lived this dating life, warn our younger sisters, cousins, friends, people, just our gender. Women have it tough enough as it is without us sitting here and making excuses for these kind of men. So call me bitter, call me used, call me old, I surely don't give a damn. Young ladies, protect yourself. Be aware of this. If a man is significantly older than you and he is running you down and chasing you, he has an ulterior motive than just wanting to be with you. He wants to take something from you, whether it be your youth, whether it be your innocence, whether it be your virginity. Please be on red alert. And I'm not saying a significant age gap can never work. I'm saying it fails often more time than it works, because these men that are saying they don't want these older women, they're not finding these younger women to take them seriously. They're finding you to take what they can from you, and then they're going to leave you just like they left the woman that was older than you that they picked up when she was young and your age. Be very careful and be very vigilant. Now, like I always say, there's always an exception to the rule. For best results, assume it's not.
Listen to yourself. Will you date someone with more bodies if you are to be a man? The fact is that younger women desire older men because they find it amazing and protective. Young women will turn down men in their age range for older men. You can talk until the cows come home because most women are looking for financial stability and they find it in older men while the men are looking for less baggage. Let me bust your bubble. Older women are actually the easiest to even manipulate. Some of them are so lacking in confidence that any attention from a deserving man who meets a good chunk of their imagined criteria has them literally losing their brain cells. Younger women, on the other hand, for the most part, get such a revolving door of attention that they are quicker to cut you off for behaving badly. Men of all ages find women in their early 20s the most beautiful and when men get old, they have the resources to have those women. The vulnerability is too much, in which older women lose the ability to do. Women hate each other so much that you have to say this. When these women are young, they date older men, and when they get old and see that older men are with younger women, they rage like they didn't do the same when they are younger. From a scientific point of view, I believe men seek younger women because they have the reproductive potential to prevent the extinction of the human race. End of story. Young women have less mileage and are exceptionally fertile. We have come to the end of today's video. Tell me your thoughts in the comment section. See you all next time. Thanks for always watching.